Welcome back to Bat Fridays here on One Comic Book Day. We're covering the final story in Batman Volume 1, Issue 19, The Collector of Millionaires. There's always got to be a collector villain at some point in every superhero comic. It's just a simple thing to write. And just like an idea that you can get behind, especially at a time where collecting was a much bigger thing. We've seen so many contests in the Golden Age for collecting. And this story begins where all Batman stories should begin: child abuse. Wait, what was I saying? No. But yeah, we start with child abuse. Bruce returns from a health resort, starts beating on Dick. Phrasing. Dick Grayson. And just being all around a jerk to him. But don't worry, this isn't the Batman we know and love. This is one of those stories where rich people are being replaced by, well, actors, which is a logistical issue of this comic, but we're not going to focus on the logistical issue, even though I kind of want to. This is also kind of similar to Mark Waid's recent Batman and Robin Year One, where a lot of the rich and powerful are replaced by different Clayface. Not the Clayface, but henchmen given a temporary Clayface formula. It turns out that it kills them, but we're not talking about Batman and Robin Year, which was a pretty good series that just finished, like 2 months ago. We're talking here where we have like actors who are for some reason going to play these rich people. And the story is fairly dark. Not only do we have child abuse right away, and we have, once again in a Golden Age story, suicide tackled as two rich kids whose parent has also changed because they've been replaced by a actor contemplating, well, not contemplating, they're actually trying to kill themselves because they're not getting any more money and they have no option. But thank God Batman comes around to talk to them about how they can get jobs at a dress store or become a saxophone player in a band. You know how easy it is just to get a job when you have no experience. A little more easier in the 1940s versus now. He's just going to get a job as a saxophone player? We don't know how good of a saxophone player he is. I guess Bruce Wayne could pull some strings for him. There's also a really great moment in this where when Batman actually confronts him, he goes, "That strange garb, are you that Batman fellow?" You know, the guy dressed like a bat, you're going to ask him if he's Batman? I think there's a high probability that the answer is yes. And we actually don't see Bruce getting captured, even though we flash back to how he got here. But the health resort is all put on by a man named Ali, who is very Middle Eastern themed with his fez and his henchmen and baggy white pants and scimitars. Though nothing about him really screams Middle Eastern at all. There's nothing about him. There's no, other than like visual cues and the brownness of the character. He's not really playing in any sort of stereotype, which I guess we can thank God for that. But still, not a great look for this comic. Not a great look for this comic. They're really trying to other him. He's also not a particularly great villain. He's not in the story all that much. And a lot of his motives are left a little bit mysterious. Like, I thought there was going to be some bigger idea of why he was keeping the rich people still alive. He kept saying, like, he was up to something. But after Batman stops everything, that's what the second half of the story is once Batman gets free, him and Robin split up and deal with each one of the actors. So there's a scene in the first half where we see everybody who's been arrested and him talking about their negative attribute. Like, one of them's a collector of art, but he doesn't let anybody see the art. And one of them never gives like a penny, that he has a nickname about being, you know, a penny pincher. What's interesting here is like all these are negative attributes and, you know, legitimate reasons to get on these rich people. I'm kind of pro Ali for like 40% of what he's about, especially these criticisms towards them. But one of his criticisms is towards a judge for being nice to his kids. So I don't know where in the morality this comic is falling on. It seems to actually support being kind of abusive to your children. just going to point that out there. Jesus Christ. Like, he definitely says that he should have a firmer hand with his kids, and that's like the only negative attribute he gives to a judge. Each one, as their actor, is doing something seemingly against their type, but it's all to make Ali money. I kind of wish he was doing the good thing with it, like actually selling the art so people could enjoy it that aren't the rich people. But no, it's fake copies of the art, so he makes more money and still has the art. There's also a really great moment here that rivals the Batman and Robin scene where Batman takes out his Bat credit card. To prove that he really is Batman, he pulls out a diamond-encrusted Batarang. Why would he have that? And why would that prove it's Batman? In fact, that makes it less likely to be Batman for me. Why is he throwing things at people that are worth a fortune that he easily loses? But things get, tiresome as I said in the second half of the story. We're just jumping from one guy to the next, taking them out. I'm like, that's not the real guy. We didn't need this over and over again, and we haven't had much of a villain confrontation. And after he defeats him, he's just going to hold the other rich people for ransom. So Batman and Robin throw him through his own health resort. And apparently steam really works because he goes from being overweight to very skinny in a joke that does not work. Gotta wish that worked as well as this comic seems to think it does. But one good thing about this comic is at the end, each one of the rich people, now seemingly criticized and captured, have seen the error of their ways. So, for example, the one who has been collecting art and not showing off is donating it all to a museum so people can enjoy it. And the penny pitcher is donating money. So, inadvertently, Ali is very useful in sort of a Christmas Carol type story of changing the miser rich people, which I can get behind. It was a windy and at times repetitive road to get there, but we got there. I wish we would have done a little more work on changing these rich people, especially, and I think we can get away with that. It's really hard for comics to deal with issues such as these because the villain will almost always have to pull off like, no, he doesn't really care about helping people. He just wants his own money. We've gone back and forth with this with Poison Ivy and her eco-terrorism. Like, she does really care about the environment, but every now and then it's just like, I want to be evil because I'm evil. It's a very hard concept to get behind because comics are not subtle and they're really worried that you might actually side with the villain. You have this in movies all the time with villains who are right, like the Flag Smashers in Captain America, but then they go a step too far that we can't support them because the story itself cannot grapple with the complexities of maybe they're right and the fact that they haven't done anything awful. Do they deserve to be defeated in that way? It can't. It has to have a morality of black and white, no gray. That is it from Batman 19 in the final story, The Collector of Millionaires. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when new videos up. I do this Monday through Friday, except Mondays and Thursdays I cover a Superman story in either 4 different comics and sometimes Superboy stories. Join us next time, same Bat Day, same comic book channel. Have a great day.